Hey, how you doing? My name is Jason Snyder with CreateFlow.com. Here with Lynn Robinson. We are today going to talk about, how to build rapport, how to build rapport with your prospect or your future business partners, but also the language of success too. There's a certain way of dealing or speaking with your prospects to get them to build rapport up to you. And there's also some of the objection stuff that may come up when you're talking to somebody when you're trying to close the sale. And I kind of put this on Facebook yesterday. ABC always be closing, and then someone put we should always be serving. And I go, well, if you're connecting with the person, then you're serving them. You're figuring out how you can serve them best, because if you're not connecting with somebody, you're not able to serve them correctly. I don't know why I went on a little tangent, but Lynn, how you doing today?
I didn't. Sorry, you threw me off with your little tangent there. Hey, it's Lynn, crazypeach.com. Yeah, so today we are going to talk about prospecting, or not prospecting, but how to talk to your prospects. And I think we kind of touched on this a little bit and kind of ran off in a wild direction with it on our last hangout. Something called forming, which is something that I do. I'm pretty sure Jason does some form of that too. Um, but this is just a good way to get started talking to your clients or talking to people, just new people. You can use it for business. You can use it just to get out there and meet new people. It's just a great way to connect, and it's not really, there's no pressure in it. So it works really good. And yeah, like I said, you could just do this to just meet people. So
Yeah,
that's kind of,
I was introduced to this by somebody in my first company, and he was a great sales guy. Not necessarily a network marketer, but he
hmm
can sell. I mean, he was telling stories of when he worked for LA Fitness, and they kind of built the organization based on the sales force and how he made people cry. Not physically, not because making them cry, just because of the way he was able to form them, and really got them to think. Because there's like a few basic emotions that trigger people. It's fear, and or fear of loss, and then it's also moving from pain to pleasure. So once you kind of understand that and see where that person's at, it's where you kind of build a rapport at, or connect with them. And then you can use the form model to, well, actually the form model is part of that, really, if you think about it. But you got to know where the person is coming from. If they're if they're a yellow, a green, a red, or a blue, you'll know how to talk to them based on their personality.
yeah, how to approach them afterwards. And I think forming is just so simple. It's like the first step when you meet someone is to form, because it's really easy. Form actually stands for, the F is for family, O is for occupation, R is for recreation, and M is for message. So by forming someone, normally I just, introduce myself, say hello, compliment them. I'm really good at giving compliments. I'm bad at taking them, but I'm good at giving them. I try to give everyone I meet a compliment. You never know how their day is going and how
Yes.
that's going to affect them. So normally, and this is so natural because it comes up anyway in a regular conversation, like, hey, how you doing? My name is so and so. Well, my name is Lynn. And then you talk about, hey, well, do you have kids? I have kids that are in school. How many kids do you have? And you keep asking them questions like that. Just ask them a little bit about their family. Ask them what they do for a living. People like to talk about themselves. And if you ask them those questions, they will go on. And if you keep on spurring on, like, oh, well, how old are your kids? Oh, well, what grades are they in? What kind of interests are they? They'll keep on going. It'll be nonstop, and they won't know anything about you, but you'll know a lot about them. And so you do that with occupation, and then the recreation, like what kind of things do you like to do? What do you, do outside of work, and blah, blah, blah. Do you like movies? Whatever. And then you kind of get to a point where they'll want to ask you some questions. And a lot of the questions, one of the main ones that I always see come up is, well, what do you do for a living? Haha. You know,
Yeah.
that's your opening.
Intrigue right there.
Yeah, and you don't have to sit there and just be like, dang, sale right here. You don't have to do that. Just, be natural, kind of tell them about what you do a little bit. Don't sell them on anything, because that's not what you're there for right at that moment. You're getting to know this person. And I think that's where a lot of people make the mistake, is like going right in and just trying to attack them. You're not a car salesman. I mean, maybe you are. I don't know. I'm not a car salesman.
Well, you know,
So,
that's where the qualification comes in. You know, I sold tires for years, and we had this model: greet, and then you ask them some questions that kind of qualify them. You demonstrate the different products, and then you make a recommendation, and then you try to close the sale from that point, right? Or close the serve. I don't know how that works, but anyways, you try to close the sale at that point, right? So you have to know where the person is coming from, and then you also have to, I guess, see the world through their eyes. It's like kind of getting your belief systems and focusing on them and how it can benefit them, because it's not about you, it's about them. And this is why I think a lot of home business gets a bad rap, is because you know, I'm guilty of this before. Is we're trying to sell to people who don't want what we have, and that's where the qualifying comes in to see if, well, I mean, is this the right fit for this person? And if it is, then you can go further. And then if not, then you can carry the conversation on any way you direct to from that point. But you can't be Machine Gun Willie and just trying to shoot everybody. There's another meaning to that, and I'll tell you after the show. But you can't be. There's a story behind that I can't share on air. But there's a story. Anyways, you can't just go out there and just Machine Gun Willie and just try to sell your products to just every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there. You know, it just ain't gonna work. I think you know what I'm talking about too. That's why you're laughing.
My side hurts.
You know, we kind of
tearing up here in a minute. Okay.
We kind of jumped into the topic today, but we were actually talking about something right before we jumped on air about just, and this is totally off subject, but I think this is something that I was really brought to the attention today, and that's something I do every day, but not to this level. And you mentioned it about like a gratitude log.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, definitely.
So, the gratitude log. So basically, Jason and I were talking about how he'd heard a webinar or something that he was on today about being grateful. And I think I wrote a post actually a while ago on my blog about it and the things that I try to do as far as being grateful. Because when you're grateful for things, if you repeat every day what you're grateful for, things that you're grateful for, your attitude will start changing. And I can attest to that because I've done it and it's true, and your outlook on life totally changes. But what we were talking about is, so every day you write down, for me, I write down 3 things. And I used to say it, and this is what Jason was talking about, that he says his 3 or 5 things that he's grateful for. And I started writing mine down because as over time you'll start to, well, not only will you have a huge list of things that you're grateful for, but the things that you're grateful for will start changing. You know, it won't just be like the everyday thing like, well, I'm grateful that I'm alive, or I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. It won't be those basic things. You'll really start to see that there's so much more that you're grateful for, like really, really deep things that you're grateful for. And just to be able to write that down and then go back later and read that stuff and just see how far you've come. It's amazing to see the transformation in yourself and to see that you're now looking beyond just the regular stuff. You're looking deeper. And to that, I wanted to add, I told him that I also write down something positive that's happened for me in the last 24 hours. And when I first did that exercise, it was hard because I was like, I don't know, let me find something. And I just wrote it down really quick. I didn't put a lot of detail into it, but the longer I go, the more detail kind of goes into it, and the more thought and reflection I have about what positive things have happened in the last 24 hours. And I try to pick the best one. Because there's lots of good stuff that happens to me during the day, but I try to pick the best one. So that's kind of what we were talking about there. You got something to add? I just kind of took it over.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad you did. And yeah, actually, I do have a little something to add. And there's this. We're so busy, and we don't see really what we're thankful for unless we stop and think about it. And like you said, you kind of had to stop and think about, well, what positive things really did happen to me today? I think once the noise in your mind subsides, the true symphony begins. And what I mean by that is once you kind of clear your thoughts and write things down, and you empty out what you have going on in your head, then you're able to allow to bring new things in, new knowledge in, new experiences, and then you start to look at life a little bit differently, because every experience in life has a meaning. And it just kind of takes you kind of thinking about what happened, and you deriving the meaning from that, and then taking it forth from there. So it's taking about half an hour to hour a day, and just kind of thinking and and taking what happened and being positive, and seeing the positive in it. Never look at the negative, because if you always look at the negative, you focus on the negative, then you'll have a negative outcome. But if you focus on it as in a positive as a positive frame, then it comes out. Your outcome is more apt to be positive. And I've kind of done this with myself and with my thinking and with my belief system. From, if something didn't work, I was upset about it, to saying, well, I mean, it's just a learning experience, and I know what not to do next time. Kind of like Thomas Edison and the light bulb. Like, he fell thousands of times, they said, right? So when you fail forward, and as you're failing forward, your failures are actually going to be your $1 million successes at some point. But you have to take action upon and making things happen. And bringing it back to the form level is, if you're not practicing it and you're not doing it, you're not trying to improve and get better at it, you will never ever be good at it. So, I mean, you kind of have to go out and just start talking to people, and then just open up a conversation with somebody. And for me, that was really hard, because I'm a person that likes people to come to me and talk to me, and it just isn't like that all the time, So I actually had to kind of come out of my shell, get out of my comfort zone, and just kind of go out there, talk to a person. And Jim Rohn kind of said, you talk to one, then you talk to two, then you talk to three, and you talk to four. And then as you start to get better and better at communicating with people. And if you look back, I think I been shooting videos for 9 months now, maybe. Maybe like 9 months, 10 months. And some of my first videos were terrible. I mean, like horrible, right? But they have gotten better because I kept on doing it, So it just takes practice and getting out there and just taking action part of doing things, and then seeing it from a standpoint of not about me per se, it's about the person across from me. Take yourself out of the situation, because people love to talk about themselves, just like Lynn said, and just let them talk, and you'll find out everything about a person. One thing that I've one tidbit. Well, actually, I got a lot of tidbits out of this book. Before Our Work Week is, he talked about not watching the news and anything like that. Right? I don't really watch TV very often. I have a few shows I watch. But he said, don't watch the news. And then that's a great way to start a conversation with somebody, because they will tell you the news, and you can talk to 5 different people and get the opinion of 5 different people about what's going on in the world. And that's your news broadcast for the day, without having to read the paper, without having to watch CNN or Fox or whatever your news of choice. You can just have them tell you what's going on in the world, and let them talk about themselves. You're getting to know that person. You can actually go and form them from that point too, if you want to, and then you can, made a new friend.
Yeah, it's really easy to do. I'm always sitting there thinking, maybe we need to role play right now and just form each other, because it's so simple. The thing I love about forming is it's just natural, anyways. I mean, if I were to meet you, actually, when I did meet you, it was kind of that way too. Actually, I made a joke. I was like, "You're gonna let me in here for free, right?" Or something like that. I wanted to get into
I remember that. Yeah, I was volunteering.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but it's like we hit it off right away. I said something smart ass or something like that, because that's what I do. And yeah, and I think I actually tried that on you. Did I? I don't remember if
I'm trying to think what my reply was. I don't remember what my exact reply was.
It was something smart ass right back at me, and that's why I was like, we're gonna be
yeah. I'm sure it was. I speak smart ass.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like it when people speak sarcasm and smart assedness.
That's from the 40-year-old version. He goes, "Yeah, I speak sarcasm too," or something like that. I forget what he said.
But anyways, gosh, there was so much that you said that I was like, oh yeah, and now I've just kind of blanked on it. So I'm gonna have to remember it so I can write it in my blog later on. But
Well, it's a good thing we have the replay. You can kind of go back and rehash it.
yeah, I
Do you
can.
want to? Do you want to? You mentioned role play. Do you want to do that next week?
We can.
And then you know what got me? I was on a webinar yesterday. It was like a 4-hour webinar with Dan Kennedy. It was great. A lot of good language there, right? And Dan Kennedy was he was him and two other guys. His one of his another sales consultant, and then the guy who was kind of the moderator of the show. And he was talking about sales scripts and how you have to know not word by word know these scripts, but these scripts can actually help you in any situation. And I was like, man, that's I never really thought about that, having a script. And he says the most successful salespeople go by scripts, but then they make them work for the role. And I'm like, well, okay. Yeah. And then he brought up the situation where him and his wife were looking at a timeshare at Disney World, and then he was talking about how the house opened up and there was a deck, and then it opened up to another deck, and then to another deck, and to a brook with this just amazing looking view of this little brook. And then they walked out and they were looking out over the brook, and he goes, honey, but there's mosquitoes the size of semi trucks in Florida. How can we enjoy this brook? And then the real estate agent kind of chimed in and grabbed his arm and said, there's no mosquitoes in Disneyland. And he's like, I thought that was great. That was just brilliant. What a way to overcome an objection, because what can you say? Because there are no mosquitoes in Disneyland.
They're special. You don't know that? Wow.
And if you think about it, I think it was last Friday, I was talking to this guy, and I don't know how we got talking about Disneyland, right? I don't know. Anyways, I can go on about that, but we're talking about Disneyland, right? And I was just saying how I was amazed because I went last year, and or the year before, I think it was. Anyways, I was amazed at how just clean it is. I mean, you can go to Knott's Berry Farm. Knott's Berry Farm out here is great, and Magic Mountain is awesome too. But there's something about when you walk into Disneyland, it's just this magic. You just feel magical. You just feel great. It just makes you feel good. I don't know what it is. And so when she said that, that's what I thought about. It took me back to just thinking about my last experience at Disneyland, is how beautiful it was. And so basically with that little message that she put into his brain, and said, oh, Disneyland is magical. This place is magical. She used to go ahead and buy it. Because if you want magic in your life, you will buy this place, right? Magic Kingdom. So I just thought that was a great kind of way to get over objection.
Yeah, absolutely. Dang. Wish I could. I'm kind of stumped by that. I'm thinking, what could I say like that? You can't trump Disneyland. There's just no trumping that.
Well,
everybody grew up with that whole Magic Kingdom and all that, Disneyland in their brain. I mean, I don't know. I think when I walk into Disneyland, into the turnstiles, I should automatically just be put into a fairy dress. I mean, I should just change as soon as I walk through. That's Disneyland,
Well, you do. You have your choice. You can be Cinderella, Snow White, Princess and the Frog, Little Mermaid. You can be whoever you want to be.
Yeah, when I go to Disneyland, I'm going to walk through there, and my clothes better just change like presto. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about when I think Disneyland. Like, oh.
It's just like that. Bam. Boom.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep looking outside and off of here because I have the little one who came outside crying, and I don't know why.
Okay, well, do you want to cut it short for the day, and then next week we can go over the form and go over some objections?
Sure. I don't want to be the one who has to to do the objection thing. I'll be the objector because I'm really good at that. I can't, man. I can't help you out. I got no money. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any time. I got kids.
You have any time? Where has that gotten you? How far has that gotten you?
Shut up. That's another discussion. Okay.
Okay,
Anyway, we're gonna be
that's
done. Len, crazypeach.com. Have a wonderful day. There's Jason if he could suck in enough air to say goodbye.
Jason for createflow.com. Have a great day.